Hello. So I'm taking a break from sign painting because I need to let this YP dry so I can even it out with more layers of paint. This is my display that is going to be put together for Baltimore Comic Con, which is this Saturday. Lots of nights painting. But I'm really excited about doing the show. It's the first time I've done the show. It's a comic book convention, and I've been doing anime conventions for a little bit, so I kind of want to hit a different audience and branch out and see how that goes. But I wanted to talk about conventions and doing conventions and all that kind of stuff. Somewhere along in your webcomics or cartooning career, you will contemplate or ponder the thought of going to a convention. And now there's one school of thought that says you should never do a convention unless you are invited to that show or unless 2 of the 3 expenses are paid for. And your 3 big expenses when going to a convention are travel, lodging, and table fee. So the pro mindset says that you should only do a show if you can afford to do a show, if you can make money on that show. So if that show is inviting you as a guest and is paying for your hotel and paying for your travel and paying for your table fee, well, that's 3 out of the 3. If they're paying for your table fee and they're paying for your lodgings, that's great. If they're paying for your travel or your table fee, that's great too. But 2 of the 3 have to be covered. And that's great if you're popular enough and awesome enough that people just say, hey, let's get this guy or girl and bring him over and we'll pay all this kind of shit and throw all this money at them to make it really worth their while to come and see us. For those people, that philosophy is beautiful because they've got it. They've made it. They're at that level. And for the rest of us, that kind of closes you off. For the rest of us who don't get invited to shows, that means we don't do shows. And there are some very good, intangible, non-monetary reasons to go to a convention. And the biggest one is to meet fellow creators. Now, you can meet fellow creators online and Twitter and Facebook and all that good stuff, but there's something about a face-to-face interaction that just sparks conversation. You know, you start talking about comics, and then you start talking about fan interactions, and then you start bouncing ideas off each other about how to market and this sort of thing, and one thing leads to another, and sometimes you end up working on projects together. And it's these intangible moments that you don't get if you don't go to these conventions. It's a hassle. It can be a hassle. Going to conventions can be a hassle. You have to pack up all your shit, dump it in a car, get out to the spot, find parking, load in, load out, you know, sit there all day. And sometimes you don't make money. And that's really tough to face, especially when the economy is down and especially when you're starting out. Like, going to a show and not making any money can be really, really depressing. But if you change the way you look at things, if you change the way you look at going to a convention, if you say to yourself, yes, I'm going to a convention, yes, it's gonna, you know, knock me out maybe like $100 or $200, but I'm going to meet some excellent people. I'm going to meet creators that are not in my area. I'm going to meet people that I would never be able to meet before. You know, if you flip it that way, then a convention can be very profitable in those intangible areas. And those relationships that you build on the con circuit can lead to bigger things. I remember one of the first Balticons that I did. Balticon is a sci-fi, literary sci-fi convention, and they started a couple years ago asking web cartoonists to come in. The first Balticon I ever did was terrible monetarily. Like, I was making no money. You know, people were coming by and shaking my hand, and I was making nice with people, and I had some really good conversations. I saw some awesome dude dressed as El Santo, which was pretty sweet. But I was making terrible money. And I was having a blast because I was meeting awesome people who did comics as well. And I met the guys who would eventually come together to form Super Art Fight at that convention. And if I hadn't met them, and if I hadn't gone to this convention, there would be no Super Art Fight. Or there would be a Super Art Fight and I wouldn't be involved. And that would be fucking heartbreaking because Super Art Fight is awesome. So, you know, it is very easy to get in the mindset that you have to go to a show to make money. But if you just switch your perspective on things, you can get a lot out of a show. And meeting other people and building those relationships, and sometimes you might come together to work on a future project. And now Super Art Fight is at the point where conventions are actually inviting us to come, and they are paying for some expenses. They are paying for sometimes our travel and our lodging, and that's a really great feeling. But it never would have happened if we went from that pro mindset to begin with. If we just said, you know, fuck this, we're only going to shows that invite us. You know, it's a steady build. And you have to get to that point. And sometimes shows need to see you year after year. Like, you know, this is the first year I'm going to Baltimore Comic Con. No one's going to know me there. Next year, maybe a couple people might remember me. Year after that, you know, maybe more people will remember me. And that's how you build an audience at a show, because shows have different audiences. Like, last year when I went to Kineticon, nobody knew who the hell I was. This year I went to Kineticon, and I did pretty well. People remembered me from our Super Art Fight performance, and people actually read my comic. So, you know, you have to go. Shows are important. Now, you might get to a point after doing all these shows that it's really kicking your ass financially, and then you might have to reevaluate. You know, if you find yourself going to a lot of shows during the course of a year, and it's taking a huge chunk out of your bank account, well, don't fucking do that. You know, maybe just go to 1 or 2 shows a year, and that's fine. You know, you got to start somewhere, but you should definitely start. Don't let. Well, it's easy for me to say, don't let the money stop you, but yeah, don't let the money be your chief concern when heading to a show. There's a lot that you can get out of it if you just put your mind to it and shit. Oh, and don't be a shithead. If you go with a bad attitude, that's gonna show, and people aren't gonna want to hang out with you. So yeah, if you're going to a show, just know what you're getting into. Prepare yourself. You know, just say to yourself, it's okay if I don't make any money. It's okay if I don't make any money. It's okay if I don't make any money. I'm meeting awesome people, and comics are fucking rad, and I'm seeing other people and what they're doing and all their work and checking that shit out. And so it's worth it. Because what were you doing before? You were going to conventions and checking out all the anime or checking out the comics and meeting creators and stuff like that. And you were paying a fee for that. You were paying a 3-day fee. So, you know, if you're going to conventions anyway, might as well try to sit back behind the table and see how it goes from there. So, those are my thoughts on conventions. Love to hear from you any good convention experiences or even not so good convention experiences. And if you are starting out and learning about comics and are at the point where you might be considering doing a convention, give it a try. Don't blow the bank on it. Like, if it's gonna cost you more than $100 or $200, you may want to hold back. But if it's within your budget and you can afford to do it, fucking do it. That's all I gotta say. Love to hear from you. Check you again, and hope some of you come to Baltimore Comic Con so I can meet you in person. Alright, thanks. See you. Bye.